Welcome to ARW. I'm Harold, and today we're going to look at a hose reel from Vevor. Vevor has suddenly sprang into view, and they're involved in all kind of tools, and this is one of them. So when they contacted me, they wanted me not only to review the hose reel, but to show installing it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to install it. Let's take a look at the hose reel before we install it though. Alright, this hose reel comes with 50 feet of 3/8 hose. The hose is rated at 300 pounds. And it also comes set up so that you can mount it on the wall on a swivel, or you can just mount it hanging from the ceiling straight down. You can see it's got the stuff underneath it there for bolt. Get up close. I've actually got my my rope through the swivel connections, but that's how I'm going to raise it up to the ceiling. I determined that I don't have enough wall space nor situated property to hang it on a wall where it'll swing back and forth. So we're going to hang it facing straight down. It'll do that just as good. But what they give you in the box is a couple of axles like this for the little hang on the wall swivel. Here's a piece of hose to hook it to the air line, and here are some expanding bolts in case you want to put it into a masonry wall. They'll work just fine. Okay, now I'm not going to use this piece, and I'm not going to use their expanding bolts for the masonry wall, because I'm going to hang it from the ceiling in here, and the ceiling in here is made out of like 2x6s or 2x8s. I will show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to, up on the ceiling where the two beams come together like this, get that out of the way a little bit. Where the beams come together like that, I've got a 1/2 inch thick piece of plywood that I'm going to fasten this to. 1/2 inch thick plywood is perfectly good. This thing weighs less than 50 pounds. I'd say pretty close to 50, but not 50. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'll show you up on the ceiling, and I went ahead and put that part up there. That piece of plywood that you see right there between all those hoses, I screwed that where the two beams come together, and that's where we're going to hang the hose reel. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get ready to haul it up there, and then I'll turn the camera on, you guys can watch. Now then, we're hooking that guy up there. This screw on this end here, the two screws, I tightened them up before I put the reel up there, tight enough that you wouldn't have to I wouldn't have to tighten them again after I shoved the reel in them. It's tight enough so that when I shoved it together, it would go like that, and it couldn't move. It would be a tight squeeze into there, because it's awful hard to turn the screws on that end. So that's a hint about how I got it in there. I'm going to install this thing right there. The holes in this hose reel are, as near as I can figure, are 2.5 inches from center to center, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to put a couple of screws in to mount those holes on. It'll take 4, of course, and you can use any length you want as long as it's got at least 1/4 inch of good screw sticking out the other side of this thing, although maybe you would want 1/2 inch. I think you would. Alright, so one end of it's going to be back here, and so let's go ahead and mark it off here.
right, well, about right there's one, there's the other.
And I'll get a regular square to make sure they're square.
Just underneath. Alright, so this is one hole, and that's a hole, and that's 2.5 inches. Yeah, so that'll do that end.
So go ahead and start the screws. This is one of those drill bits I ruined the other day. I'm going to have to interrupt the video while I go sharpen it. Thank goodness for my drill doctor. I always get a perfect end. Alright, now I know it'll fit. Alright, we'll do the same thing over here. Alright, so now that I've got something to hang it on, I'll go back and I'll measure, see how far it is from end to end. Alright, 4 inches. There, that's 4 inches. There. Now it doesn't take much to get on my 2 inches apart. Come down here like this. The other one. They're 2.5 inches apart. All right, just to make certain, I'll measure it down the side. Okay. And then I'll make sure that the threads fit good before I start putting anything up there. I'm sure the threads will fit good, but I'm going to make sure of it. Alright, then I can put that in there at any time. So what we're going to do now, we're going to use this rope to pull that little fella up here. Get this out of the way. Well, I did more or less pick it up, but the rope is going to keep it here for me. Alright, so get the rope through the holes. Okay, I've got a clamp on the ceiling. It's going to hold this guy stable for us while I try to add it to everything here. Double check my distance. Even I can make mistakes, believe it or not. Alright, that's pretty tight, but it's gonna fit. Pretty sure of that. Alright. Got it on that one. This one's a little bit tight, so I'm gonna have to loosen him up to get up under him. There. That should get me up under it. There, now that's actually holding the stupid thing. So, as far as doing these other two screws, okay. Make sure that these things fit before I get started. Back like we were. All right. Alright, so in the preliminary tightening of it, I already had those two screws as tight as they could go. And when I pulled up on the back end of it, that took any possible slack out of it, and everything's tight. Alright, now we've got to put the little hose on that goes on the side. So, change tools and get started. Alright, let's put the air hose on it. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is take this in and put one of these guys on it. Alright, they make one enough different sizes of attachments that you'll find one to fit. Okay, now I've got two wrenches, and I'll just tighten this little booger up. That's a bit tight there. It doesn't have to be hanging the world on it tight, because that air's not going to come out of there very well. That ought to be tight enough for anything. I'll go and I'll plug him in up there, and then we'll put a female end on the hose. So I've just threaded this end onto there, and I didn't bring back my other wrench. Alright, now then, we'll just take this guy here, and we will crunch it down tight enough not to leak, which is not very tight. If it leaks, then you need to take it apart and find out if it's bent, or got bad threads, or maybe you didn't get any Teflon tape on it. Something like that. Alright. That should be enough to keep it from leaking. And there we are. We're hooked to the hose reel. We're hooked to my manifold up there. And while you guys take a nap, I'll start up the compressor and provide some air. Alright, there's the hose reel, and as you can see, it's got lots of hose on it, and it latches just like all the others. Latches again. Alright. When you're letting the hose come back in, you really ought to have gloves on so you can wipe all the dirt off of it, but I don't, so I didn't. Now then, let's take a look down here, and we'll see that it works with air. We've got air and all those other fancy things. Okay, so I had a hose reel here before. I'll whip that one up. That's number 2. So I ran some hoses down here to this hose reel. Hooked it in on the other side around there. See if I can turn this thing without hitting me and everything else. And I hooked the hose in over there. So we got actually longer distance hose coming to this hose reel than we do to the new one. Alright, and then I thought, well, how am I gonna show which, how much airflow I got? I don't have an airflow meter of any particular kind. And then it dawned on me, there's this one here from the bench rest days. So what we're going to do, the air's all pumped up, I got this guy on here. We'll see how much it deflects that little cup. I got it pointing right at it. Okay, we'll let it settle down. I'll move the hose bib over to this other one, the little nozzle. Alright. This thing's leaking a little bit. Alright, this is the old one. So, I didn't notice a lot of difference. At first I thought there was difference in the amount of airflow. But here's the old one again, pointing directly at it. And then we'll go back to the new one. Let the thing settle down a little bit. Alright, I'm spreading them both in the same place. There's the new one. So the new one seems to be making a better showing than the old one did. It's just quieter, I guess, when the air comes out. So there you go. I guess that it has to pass the test. I've been using this other hose reel for years, and it was good enough. So if this one blows my indicator even harder, it's going to have to be good enough too.